Hi guys, today I'm going to be taking you through my payday routine. So that includes reviewing my paycheck, bank accounts, what I'm going to be investing in, as well as paying off some credit cards. So let's get right into it. Some background info is that I currently work full-time in a salaried position and I get paid once a month. So in terms of payday, I already know what day I'm going to be getting paid every month. It's usually the beginning/end of the month. So I have those dates marked on my calendar. So a few days before I get paid, my paycheck is usually available because, like I mentioned before, I'm salary. So in some ways the pay is set. So I like to go in and review my paycheck to make sure all the things that I have done for the month is accounted for and I'm getting paid accurately. So let's do that right now. So I'm looking at my pay stub from work, and the portions that I pay attention to are the hours and earnings, and that just has my base pay as well as extra things. So for this particular month, I took a vacation, so that is accounted for there. Sometimes if I do other things or work certain hours, I get paid extra for that. So if that were to happen, I make sure that it's reflected there. So everything looks fine there. Then I also look at my before tax deductions. I've already set these, but I just make sure that they came out of my check. So everything looks good for my particular job and what I choose to have deducted. I have medical insurance, vision, and then my retirement account, so 403b/401k. And then, as I mentioned in a previous video, I also have to pay for parking, and that is pre-tax. If you want a full breakdown of my paychecks, including where every single dollar goes, then I will link that video for you guys to watch as well. And then the next part that I like to look at is actually how much I'm getting paid. So everything looks good there. I normally look at the gross amount to make sure that is aligned with what I normally get paid. And taxes are always the same to the same degree because I get paid the same amount mostly. And the other important portion that I look at is I have my paycheck split into 2 bank accounts because it allows 2 direct deposits from my job in particular. I've had other jobs that allowed up to like 8 direct deposits, which is nice if you have multiple bank accounts. Another job that I have allows 4, but this particular job only allows 2, so I make sure that I make note of the amounts that are going to each job. So one is a set amount and the other is the remainder of any amount beyond that. So it looks like that is set. So I have a certain amount going to my fixed checking account, which I go over in my budgeting videos, so I'll link those for you guys as well. And then I have a variable amount which goes into my variable checking, and that's the amount of money that I'm free to spend on my day-to-day expenses and whatever else that it allows. So everything looks good on my paycheck, so we'll just cross that out and move on to the next step. So after I've reviewed my paycheck a couple of days before, usually then on actual payday, I check my bank accounts. So I actually use Mint, which is an aggregate of all my accounts, and that is what I normally check first to see if I got paid. Sometimes if things aren't aligning with Mint, or if I want to double check Mint, I'll actually go into my actual bank account and take a look. But for this particular video, I'm just going to be going on Mint. So when I log into Mint, I'm just making sure that the amounts that I saw on my paycheck are what exactly got direct deposited to my account. And one particular account that I have specifically allows you to get your paychecks 1 to 2 days before they're posted, which is nice. And the other one only posts on the actual day, which is not that great. I prefer to get my paychecks early because, like I've said, I get them once a month. So if I can get them earlier, the better, the quicker I can like take care of my like monetary obligations, etc. So logging into Mint, I'm going to be looking at those 2 accounts for the transaction history for all my accounts, and then I'll see my paycheck amounts in there, and those align with what I had seen on my pay stub. So we're good there. So with that in mind, I like to make sure that I have enough money in my accounts to do what I need to do. So a few things that happen once my paycheck hits my bank account. One, the majority of it gets deposited into a brokerage account, which I use for investing. We'll talk about that later because we're gonna do some investing today. And then the other amounts go to the 2 checkings account that I mentioned before. And then from that, I also debit money for savings. So right now I'm I'm saving for my Roth IRA, which is an investment account for retirement. And then I also put money aside for travel specifically because that's one of the things that I enjoy doing and it costs a significant amount of money. So it's good to have that money set aside beforehand so I don't end up not having money to pay for it and putting it on a credit card. So based on my paycheck, I should be able to account for everything I need to account for. So that's good. So in order to make sure that everything adds up, I would have gone through my budget, which I have already done a budget. So I'm gonna link the budget that I made for this particular month so you can see that. But because of that, I'm just gonna move on to the next step. So once I make sure that I have enough money for the next 30 days, since I only get paid once a month, then I go on to pay my credit cards. So I pay my credit cards literally every few days. Like as soon as a balance pops up, I normally go in there and pay it just because, I don't know, I like to pay it frequently and I don't like debt. So, and I have the money obviously beforehand, so it doesn't make a difference to me if it's going to the credit card or not because, you know, the money has already been spent in my mind, so I might as well get it out of my account so I can have a more accurate picture of where my money is. So let's go and pay my credit card bill. So I'm gonna log into that right now. Okay, so I have 3 credit cards. One for my business, which is this YouTube account / my blog / anything social media internet related. The other is my travel debit card, which is the Chase Sapphire Reserve, and the next one is my everyday card, which is the Chase Unlimited Freedom. So the business credit card, which is the Inc. Business by Chase, that one allows 1.5 times points on all your purchases every day. There are also other ones that have different points for like different purchases, but I find that the purchases that were eligible for that particular business card, like that wasn't something I was going to spend money on. So it made just more sense to get a regular straight cashback or point credit card. So 1.5 times points for the Inc. Business, and then the Chase Sapphire has several different tiers, but you get 3.5 or 3 times the points on eating / dining and travel purchases. So that's the one that I use mostly for those 2 things. And then my everyday card is 1.5 times points on everything that isn't food or travel related. So for this particular month or the last few days, since I paid my credit card, I have $644.53 balance on my business checking. So I'll just quickly tell you guys what that's about. So I paid for my taxes that I filed, and that's a business expense because I had to do a business tax return, and then I bought a iPad which I'm going to be using effectively for the business, so it's also in that account. So that is where this $644.53 is coming from. Also have my internet bill on there, my utility / energy bill, and I think that's it. So either way, we're just going to pay that off now, so let's do that. All right, so that credit card is paid, so let's move on to the next card. So I paid off my travel card when I came back from my vacation, which was a week ago. So that has a $0 balance. And then my everyday credit card has a balance on there. So let's go over that one. So that one currently has a balance of $29.28, and then I have a pending charge of $29.03 for gas that I just got. So I'm just going to add those 2 together because I already know the gas is going to come out either way. So I'm just effectively prepaying before it hits the account just to, you know, get it paid. So $29.28 plus $29.03 equals $58.31. So that is what we're going to pay. So these payments come out of my variable checking account, which I mentioned in my budgeting video. That's what I use for credit card payments. If I am paying for something travel related, that comes out of a separate travel account, which I mentioned before, that I save extra money for. So we're going to select other amount because we're not going to just be paying the main balance. And you can prepay your credit cards if you want to, but clearly I wouldn't advise that unless you have a pending amount that's going to come through because you want the extra money, you know, for yourself. So we're going to pay this. All right, so both our credit cards are paid, so that should be reflected at the end of the day. They should have a $0 balance. And then we're gonna move on to investing. All right, so I have my brokerage account set up to automatically debit a certain amount of money out of my bank account every time I get paid, because I know my paydays effectively, seeing that they happen one time a month around the same time. So I normally just pick around that time every month for the transaction to occur. So the money is already in my brokerage account, so we're gonna see where we're gonna put the money. As of recently, the stock market has been on a downward trend for a variety of reasons, which I'm sure you're aware of, but either way it doesn't matter because this is a long-term investment, so I'm still gonna buy some stocks. So I have several places that I invest in, as in several exchange traded funds that I like to put money into, but in this particular instance I am just going to put money in a few of them. So let's see. Normally I look at the performance for the last few weeks or days and see if anything is discounted more than usual, which I think the most out of all the accounts that I have, the most money that they've lost is 1.46%, so not particularly bad. But today, let's see. All right, so for today, I'm going to be investing in 3 exchange traded funds, and these are the ones that I've actually been investing in for the last several months. I've dialed back on a few that I had because of the tax implications, and then because the returns were lower than I wanted them to be. So the returns were lower than the total stock market or the S&P 500, and I feel like if I'm going to be putting extra money into the market, I should be outperforming them or being at the same level. So that is what we've settled on. But I have a total of, I'm just going to count them right now. So 11 exchange traded funds and then 1 mutual fund in this particular brokerage account. So today I'm going to be investing in the S&P 500, which is the top 500 companies / stock by market capitalization. Consumer discretionary, which is effectively things that people, or companies that people that are focused on things that we as consumers would buy that isn't necessary. So for instance, what isn't necessary? Perhaps Netflix, that's not a necessity, so Netflix would more than likely be in this exchange traded fund. And then tech is also going to be where I'm investing because tech is one of the fastest growing stock sectors, and it's been doing particularly well and outperforming the market for quite some time now, so that's what I'm going to do. And then I've also just got a new fund, so I've been getting I just got a financials exchange traded fund, so that is just a group of financial companies, so banks, brokerages, etc. Those would fall under that category. But I don't think I'm going to be buying any of that stock because it seems to be getting hit particularly now because of the events that are happening. So I'm going to hold off on that and just stick to my main 3 ones. So I know the amount of money that is in my account, and I'm just going to divide that amount of money by 3 and purchase the stock. So let's do that. So when you're purchasing exchange traded funds, you can only buy, at least in this brokerage account, you can only buy an exact share. You can't buy partial shares. So if you know the amount of money that you're going to invest, you can do a calculator to determine how many shares you can buy. So that's what I've determined. I'm just going to do a market order because I want it to be instant, and I'm not doing any limit or stop orders because it is a long-term investment. It doesn't matter to me about the pricing. I doubt the pricing is going to change significantly in the next few minutes, and I don't want to do anything else. So market order it is. So let's put that through. Right now I'm buying the Vanguard Consumer Discretionary Exchange Traded Fund that I mentioned before. All right, so that order's in. Next up is going to be Vanguard Information Technology Exchange Traded Fund, which is the tech stocks that I mentioned before. So just calculating the dollars to share because I don't feel like doing the math, and this is way easier. All right, and then the final stock that we're going to be purchasing is the S&P 500 Exchange Traded Fund. So let's do that. Okay, so I've purchased all the shares that I would normally get, and then because, as I mentioned before, the shares, you can only buy them the entire share. There's usually some money left over in the account, so once the orders go through, which they'll settle sometime today, today, but I don't know if I'm gonna get back to it today. Otherwise, I'll get back to it sometime in the week. But the extra money I normally put into a mutual fund, and that mutual fund is the total stock market mutual fund, because mutual funds do not require you to have to pay the actual amount of the share. So you can do partial shares or purchase partial shares with the mutual account in this particular brokerage. So any extra money that's left over just gets transferred over to the total stock market fund. So that is what I'm going to be doing once everything is settled. And that is it for my payday routine. These are the things that I normally do to get myself set up for the next 30 days. And obviously today I sat down with you guys and did it, but these are things that I normally do either like in bed when I wake up that day if I happen to not be working, or in the car right before work. So this is something that can be done in minutes, but it's just nice to see how someone else handles their payday. Perhaps it may be helpful to you in some way. If you have any questions about what I did today or any specifics about financials, let me know in the comments below, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye bye.